The transport ship moved slowly through the quiet space between stars. Its silver body reflected distant light like calm water. Inside it, a small group of alien students sat in a wide observation hall, watching a blue planet grow larger on the main screen. The planet looked beautiful from far away. White clouds covered its surface like soft cotton. Deep oceans shone in dark blue. Brown and green lands spread across it in uneven shapes. Sunlight touched the edge of the world, making a thin golden line. It did not look dangerous at all. Luma stood closest to the glass wall. Her thin fingers rested against it as she stared at the planet. Her large eyes were filled with curiosity. "So this is Earth," she said softly. Behind her, Taro stretched in his seat and gave a lazy laugh. "The famous Deathworld, it looks peaceful. I expected fire and smoke everywhere." Rel adjusted the data pad in his hands. He always checked numbers instead of trusting his eyes. Surface temperature normal, oxygen level high, liquid water everywhere. By science standards, it looks perfect for life. "That is exactly why humans talk too much," Vex said. He crossed his arms and leaned back. "They want to sound special. Every species thinks their home is the hardest place to live." The others chuckled. It felt like a school trip, not a mission to a dangerous world. Their home planet had soft gravity and stable weather. There were no storms, no large predators, no sudden disasters. The sky was always clear. The land was always safe. If someone fell, they rarely got hurt. If someone went outside at night, nothing hunted them. Danger existed only in history lessons. Because of that, their bodies were light and slim. Their bones were thin. Their skin was smooth. They relied on knowledge and machines, not strength. The exchange program was meant to build friendship with humans. The academy had chosen these 4 students because of their high grades and calm minds. At the center of the room stood their instructor, a tall, older alien named Myra. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Remember why you are here," she said. "You are not tourists. You are observers. Humans evolved under harsh conditions. Their world is officially classified as a death world for many reasons." Taro smiled. "With respect, instructor, that label is hundreds of cycles old. Technology makes everything safe now." Myra looked at him for a long moment. "Do not confuse technology with safety. Nature does not disappear simply because cities exist." Vec waved his hand. "If it were truly dangerous, humans would have left the planet long ago." "They tried," Myra replied, "but they always return." The students exchanged looks. That sounded strange. Why return to a dangerous place if you could live somewhere easier? The ship computer made a soft sound. A calm voice filled the hall. "Entering Earth orbit in 10 minutes. Please secure all loose objects." The lights dimmed slightly. The planet on the screen grew larger and larger until it filled their view. Now they could see details. Huge storms spun over the oceans like white spirals. Lightning flashed inside the clouds. In one region, a red glow showed active volcanoes. In another, brown dust storms covered half a continent. Rel blinked. "Weather systems are extreme," he said quietly. "Wind speeds are very high." "Still survivable," Vec answered. The ship shook a little, just a small vibration. Then another. Luma grabbed the railing. "Is that normal?" The pilot's voice came through the speakers. "Minor turbulence from upper atmosphere storms, nothing to worry about." Taro laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. "See, just a little shaking." The ship began its descent. Clouds swallowed the windows. White and gray covered everything. Rain hit the hull like tiny stones. The sound grew louder and louder. The shaking became stronger. Rel nearly dropped his data pad. Wind pressure increasing fast. A sudden flash of light filled the hall. Boom, the entire ship trembled. "What was that?" Taro shouted. "Lightning strike," the computer answered calmly. "Lightning can hit ships?" Luma asked. "Yes," Myra said. "On Earth it often does." Another boom followed. The lights flickered. The students went quiet. On their home planet, lightning existed only in controlled energy labs. Here it fell from the sky like a weapon. The clouds cleared for a moment. Through the window they saw the ocean far below. Waves rose like moving hills. White foam crashed in every direction. The water did not look calm, it looked angry. Then the clouds closed again. The ship tilted sharply to one side. Several students slid across the smooth floor. Stabilizers at maximum, the pilot said. Storm density higher than expected. Vec grabbed a seat. It's just weather, why is it so violent? No planet tries to kill you on purpose, Myra said quietly, but some planets do not care if you live. The words made the hall feel colder. Minutes passed slowly. Finally, the ship broke through the lower clouds. Land appeared beneath them. Dark green forests stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Mountains cut through the ground like sharp teeth. Rivers twisted between valleys. It looked wild, untouched. Nothing like the perfect, planned cities of their home. "Where is the human city?" Taro asked. "Further east," the pilot replied. "But the storm is blocking the main route. We will use a secondary landing zone." The ship shook again, harder than before. Warning lights turned red. Crosswinds increasing, guidance unstable. Another flash of lightning hit nearby. For a second the sky turned white. The ship dropped suddenly. Several students screamed. Rel clutched the railing with both hands. "This is not safe." The pilot's voice lost its calm tone. "Emergency landing procedure. All passengers brace." The floor vibrated. Engines roared louder. The view outside spun between trees and sky. They were falling too fast. Luma's heart beat so hard she could hear it. She had studied many worlds in books. None of them had ever felt like this. This planet did not welcome them. It pushed back. With a heavy crash, the landing gear hit the ground. The ship slid across wet soil, tearing through bushes and small trees. Dirt flew across the windows. Finally, it stopped. Everything went silent except for rain hitting the hull. No one moved for several seconds. Then the computer spoke. "Landing complete. Minor damage detected. Communication with main city temporarily lost." Taro slowly stood up. "We landed right." "Yes," Myra said, checking her console, "but not at the planned site." The main screen showed their location. They were deep inside a forest, miles away from the human settlement. Thunder rolled above them. Rel swallowed. "We are alone out here." "For now," Myra answered. The doors opened with a hiss. Cold, wet air rushed inside. It smelled different, heavy, rich, alive. Luma stepped forward carefully and looked outside. Tall trees covered everything. Their trunks were thick and dark. Leaves moved wildly in the wind. Rain fell without stopping. The ground was uneven and muddy. Nothing looked clean or controlled. It looked real. It looked dangerous. Vec tried to take a step down the ramp, but his body suddenly felt heavy, much heavier than normal. He almost stumbled. "What is this?" he said. "Gravity," Myra replied. "Earth's gravity is stronger than ours. Move slowly until you adjust." Taro laughed weakly. "So the planet even makes walking harder. That's rude." But when he tried to walk, he almost fell too. Every step took effort. Their bodies were not used to such weight. In the distance, something howled. A long, deep sound that echoed through the trees. All four students froze. "What was that?" Luma whispered. Myra looked into the forest. "Local wildlife." "Wildlife that sounds like that?" Rel asked. Another howl answered, closer this time. Rain kept falling. Thunder rolled again. The forest felt like it was watching them. For the first time since leaving home, none of them laughed. The blue planet they had admired from space no longer looked peaceful. It felt alive, and it did not seem friendly. Myra closed the ramp halfway and spoke in a serious voice. "Stay close to the ship until human rescue arrives. Do not wander. On this world, even small mistakes can become fatal." The students nodded silently. Far above the trees, lightning flashed again, lighting the dark sky for just a second. In that bright moment, Luma understood something simple and clear. Maybe the galaxy had not been exaggerating. Maybe Earth truly was a death world, and they had just stepped onto it. The alien students stepped carefully from the shuttle into the dense forest. Each movement was a struggle. Gravity pressed on them like a heavy hand. Even standing still required effort. Their bodies, built for light and safe planets, felt weak under the oppressive pull of Earth's surface. Every breath felt thick, and the air was heavy and wet with rain. Luma led the small group as they moved toward a clearing. She held a portable scanner in front of her, its soft blue light cutting through the gray haze. The scanner beeped constantly, detecting moving life forms nearby. Each beep made her heart race. Rel struggled behind her, his data pad now clutched tightly to his chest. His eyes scanned the readings over and over as if repeating them would make the numbers less alarming. Predatory life forms detected, he said quietly. Large quadrupeds moving in this sector. Estimated weight 200 kilograms or more. Fast movement. Caution advised. Taro, usually the one who made jokes, was silent. His usual humor seemed small and useless here. He moved slowly, almost dragging his legs. I thought forest life was supposed to be calm, he muttered. This is more than calm, it's aggressive. Vec, who had been the most skeptical of Earth's dangers, finally spoke in a low voice. I miscalculated. The reports were accurate. This world is alive, and it does not care if we survive. Myra walked slightly ahead, her long legs carrying her with relative ease. She had been on several dangerous planets before, but even she noted the struggle her students faced. Stay close and do not panic, she said firmly. The human guide will meet us shortly. Until then, move carefully and observe everything. The forest seemed endless. Trees with thick trunks and tangled roots rose in every direction. Their canopies formed a roof that barely let sunlight through. Rain dripped continuously from the leaves above, forming puddles that soaked the students' feet. Birds squawked and flapped in the distance, and insects buzzed constantly. Their sound was louder than the shuttle's engines had been. Suddenly, a deep growl echoed from the shadows. The students froze. Luma's fingers tightened on the scanner. Taro stepped back and nearly slipped in the mud. Even Myra paused, looking toward the noise with a cautious expression. A large creature emerged from the underbrush. It was bigger than any animal they had ever seen on their home planet. Its fur was dark and wet, its eyes glowing faintly in the gray light. Muscles rippled under its skin as it moved, and its teeth shone like small knives. It stopped, sniffing the air, and let out a low, rumbling growl. Rel stepped behind a tree. This is a predator, he whispered, voice trembling. It could kill us in one bite. The creature's growl grew louder. It stepped closer to the clearing. Taro swallowed hard. We're too exposed. Why are we even here? Myra raised a hand. Do not panic. Stay together. Keep scanning. Watch its movements. The predator circled the clearing, sniffing the ground. The students' hearts pounded in unison. They had never felt fear like this. Their home planet had no predators. Their academy had simulated danger, but nothing like this had ever existed in reality. Then the creature paused. Something in the distance caught its attention. Another sound, a human whistle, cut through the rain. The predator growled and bolted into the trees, disappearing in moments. The students exhaled shakily. Luma lowered her scanner. Humans, she asked. Are there humans nearby? From behind a thick cluster of trees, a human figure appeared. He was tall, wearing a rainproof jacket and boots. His hair was wet and plastered to his head. He moved with confidence, as if the wet ground and heavy gravity did not affect him at all. I am Eli, he said in a calm voice. I am your guide. Follow me. Stay close. Myra nodded. We are students from the Galactic Academy. We require guidance. Eli glanced at them briefly and then gestured for them to follow. Keep pace. This area is full of hazards. Do not stray from the path. The students fell in line behind him, moving slowly through the mud. Each step was exhausting. Rel counted each one, trying to keep his mind occupied. Taro grunted with effort. Luma scanned every plant and movement in the trees. Vex stayed quiet, his eyes sharp, watching for danger. The forest was full of threats. Vines wrapped around roots like snakes. Thorned bushes reached into their path. Rainwater formed pools that hid sharp stones. Occasionally, small animals darted past their legs, and insects bit any exposed skin. Hours passed. Even Eli noticed the struggle. "You are adjusting," he said. "Gravity, terrain, weather, it takes time, keep moving. Nature does not stop for you." The students nodded silently. They had begun to understand something. Earth was not only strong in force, it was alive in ways they could barely comprehend. Every step was a test, every breath carried effort. As evening approached, the sky darkened further. The forest became nearly black. Strange sounds surrounded them, howls, rustling leaves, and occasional splashes of water. The students' senses were on high alert. Suddenly, Rel stumbled. His foot sank into mud and he fell forward. The mud tried to pull him down further. Luma and Taro grabbed his arms and pulled him free, but a deep growl sounded nearby. A pair of glowing eyes appeared between the trees. The predator had returned. Luma froze, unable to move. Taro's legs shook. Vec gritted his teeth. Rel tried to stand, but his body refused to respond. Eli stepped forward without hesitation. He picked up a large branch and slammed it on the ground, creating a loud crack. The predator hissed and backed off slightly. Eli then threw a small flare into the mud, which ignited with a flash of fire. The creature hissed again and finally retreated into the darkness. The students were trembling. Luma's hands shook as she lowered her scanner. "It could have killed us," she whispered. "Yes," Myra said. "And it would have if Eli had not acted quickly. Humans are capable of facing danger because they grow up in it. They learn instinctively what to do. That is why you must observe, not underestimate." The students followed Eli and Myra for another hour, moving carefully through the forest. Each moment brought new challenges. Rivers to cross, fallen trees to climb, slippery slopes to descend. Their bodies ached, but they forced themselves to continue. At one point, a flash of lightning struck a tree nearby. The tree exploded into flames and fell with a loud crash. The students jumped and stumbled backward. Eli moved calmly to lead them away from the burning area. Night fell completely. The forest was darker than anything they had experienced. Sounds grew louder in the darkness. Owls, frogs, insects, and distant howls combined into a chorus of life and threat. Eli stopped at a small clearing near a stream. He gestured to the ground. "We will camp here. Stay close, do not wander. The night is alive and unpredictable." The students built a small shelter with portable tents. Rain soaked them despite the effort. Luma shivered and rubbed her arms. Taro's teeth chattered. Rel looked at the scanner repeatedly, checking for predators. Vex simply sat quietly, eyes scanning the darkness. Myra sat next to them, speaking in a low voice. "Tonight you will understand the first lesson. Earth is not forgiving. Its creatures are not controlled. Its storms are not kind. You may survive this night, or you may learn to respect its dangers." The first growl sounded before midnight. It came from the trees near the stream. The students froze. Luma clutched her scanner. Taro's hands trembled. Vex's tail twitched nervously. Rel's body refused to move. Eli walked calmly to the edge of the clearing, holding a lantern and making soft sounds to keep the predator at bay. The glowing eyes in the darkness disappeared slowly. The students realized that humans lived with this threat every day. It was normal for them. For aliens from safe worlds, it was terrifying. Hours passed in tense silence. Every sound made them flinch. Every shadow seemed dangerous. By morning, the rain had slowed. The forest was wet and glistening. Birds called loudly. Small animals moved cautiously. The students, exhausted and soaked, began to understand why Myra had warned them. "This is only the beginning," Myra said. "Earth's dangers are everywhere. From gravity to weather to life forms, the planet tests every step you take. and this is just a forest. Wait until you see the rivers, mountains, and human settlements. The students nodded silently. The thrill of adventure had been replaced by a deep awareness. Earth was not just a place to observe. It was a challenge, and it would not give mercy to those who were unprepared. They packed their small tents, adjusted their equipment, and followed Eli deeper into the forest, ready to see what lay ahead. Every step was a struggle, but each also brought knowledge. Slowly, the alien students were learning what it truly meant that Earth was called a Deathworld. The forest opened into a narrow path leading to a river. Its waters moved fast and dark. The students stopped, staring at the rushing current. Taro swallowed hard. How do humans cross this every day? Eli smiled faintly. By learning, by adapting, by not underestimating the planet. The aliens looked at each other. They understood that their journey had only just begun. Earth would not be kind, but it would teach them lessons they could never learn on their home planet. And for the first time, they feared and respected the world below them. The forest around them seemed to pulse with life, every sound a warning, every shadow a mystery. Earth was alive, and it was waiting. The alien students stared at the river in front of them. Its water rushed quickly, dark and powerful, carrying logs and debris downstream. Crossing it seemed impossible. The gravity made their bodies feel heavier with each step. Even standing on the bank was tiring. Luma held her scanner, but it could not measure the strength of the current. She only knew it was dangerous. Eli, their human guide, knelt near the edge. He tested the flow with a stick, smiling faintly. Humans cross rivers like this every day, he said calmly. It takes caution, balance, and courage. Rel frowned. Caution is not enough. We are not built like humans. One mistake in the current will take us. Taro muttered, I feel like the river is alive and wants to eat us. Vec did not speak. He only stared at the water, jaw tight, ready to react. Myra motioned for them to watch. Observe. Humans do not rely on strength alone. They read the environment. They adapt instantly. That is why they survive here. Eli stepped into the river. Water reached his knees. He moved carefully, each step calculated. The current tugged at him, but he leaned forward, arms wide for balance. Logs hit the water near him, and he adjusted his position without hesitation. The students' mouths opened slightly in surprise. Their own movements felt clumsy and slow. The river seemed to push against them as if testing their resolve. Do we really have to cross it? Luma asked nervously. Yes, Myra replied. The city lies on the other side. Your assignment is observation. Humans are there. You must reach them. The aliens hesitated. Each of them felt fear in a way they had never felt before. Fear for their lives, fear for failure, fear of underestimating a planet. Taro was the first to step forward. He moved cautiously, legs stiff, hands out for balance. The water hit him and tried to pull him. He stumbled, almost falling. Rel grabbed his arm and pulled him back. You will fall, Rel said, voice tight. The current is too strong. No, Myra said calmly. You will not fall if you move like humans. Slow, careful, aware. Vec finally stepped forward. He gritted his teeth, muscles tensing against the pull of gravity and water. He concentrated on each step, adjusting constantly, using instinct as he moved. Luma followed him, scanning the water ahead. She tried to mimic human behavior, focusing on balance and the feel of the ground under her feet. The current tugged, but she did not panic. Each step became slightly easier. As they progressed, the river seemed to push harder. Rocks under the water were sharp. Logs crashed against them. One massive wave hit Luma's leg. She fell and water rushed past her ears. Taro reached out instinctively and pulled her back. Both of them gasped for air. Eli was already halfway across. He turned and shouted instructions, calm and strong. Use your feet to feel the bottom. Lean against the flow, watch each movement. Finally, after what felt like endless struggle, all 4 students and Myra reached the other bank. Their clothes were soaked. Their bodies ached. Their hearts pounded. They collapsed on the mud, gasping for breath. "Why do humans survive this every day?" Taro asked between shivers. Eli smiled. "Because they must. Weak humans die quickly. The strong learn. That is how life works here." The students looked around. The forest behind them still loomed large and threatening. Ahead, the first signs of civilization appeared. Smoke rising in the distance, distant lights flickering through the trees. As they walked toward the city, they saw the aftermath of natural chaos. Trees had been uprooted by storms. Branches lay across the path. Small fires burned from lightning strikes. Animal bones lay in the mud. Each sight reminded them that Earth was not safe. "Everywhere is danger," Vex said quietly. "Even walking seems to risk death." "Yes," Myra agreed, "and humans move through it every day, adapting, surviving, and helping each other." They came across a fallen tree blocking the path. Luma hesitated. It was wide, wet, and slippery. Taro looked at it, then at her. "We can't jump it," he said. "We will fall." Eli stepped forward, using a long branch to test stability. He placed his foot on the tree and slid across carefully. The students watched every move. Step by step, he demonstrated how to balance, shift weight, and maintain control. Slowly, they crossed. One by one, clumsy at first but gradually improving. Each success gave a small spark of confidence. Each misstep reminded them of the planet's power. Night approached quickly. The sky darkened, heavy with storm clouds. The forest around them grew quiet but tense. Strange noises echoed through the trees, distant howls, rustling leaves, and water running in hidden streams. Suddenly, a loud roar shook the path. The students froze. Their hearts jumped. A predator had appeared, larger than any before. Its fur was soaked and dark. Its glowing eyes reflected the faint light of the storm. It stepped toward them with slow, deliberate movements. Taro stumbled backward. Luma grabbed his arm. Rel tried to move, but fear froze him. Vex's claws dug into the mud, ready to defend. Eli stepped forward without hesitation. He lifted his lantern and made loud noises. The predator paused, confused, and then slowly retreated into the shadows. Myra exhaled. Humans do not ignore danger, they face it. And they survive. Watch carefully. Observe how they do it. The group continued moving, exhausted but aware. They could feel the lessons of Earth pressing on them. Every sound, every shadow, every drop of rain was a warning. Every movement, every decision was a test. By dawn, the forest opened to a small valley. A river glimmered in the morning light. Birds called, insects hummed. The students were wet, muddy, and tired, but they had survived. Eli gestured toward a path leading up a small hill. "The city is just beyond. Be ready." Humans there face danger constantly, but they thrive because of it. The aliens looked at each other. They understood something now. Humans were not stronger because of technology. They were stronger because they had learned to live in a world that never forgave mistakes. The journey had already changed them. Their bodies ached. Their spirits were tense. But they were beginning to see why Earth earned the name Deathworld, and they had only just begun to understand its lessons. The valley lay ahead, mysterious and alive, as the alien students climbed slowly toward the city, their senses alert, hearts pounding and minds filled with fear and awe. The alien students climbed the last hill and looked down at the city. Smoke rose from chimneys and lights flickered in the early evening. At first, it seemed peaceful, almost like the cities they had seen in their holographic studies. But as they drew closer, the reality of Earth became clear. Streets were flooded from a recent storm. Debris littered the roads. Fallen trees blocked pathways. Power lines hung dangerously, sparking intermittently. Luma gasped. How do humans live like this?" Eli glanced at her. "They survive because they must. This is normal life here. Nature does not wait for convenience." As they moved into the streets, the students saw humans in action. Some carried supplies through the mud. Others guided children and elderly citizens to higher ground. People lifted heavy debris, often working in pairs or groups, while others built temporary barriers against flooding. There was no panic, only focus. Taro shook his head. They are fearless or insane. They are neither, Myra said quietly. They are used to danger. It is part of who they are. Strength here is not only physical, it is in the mind, the spirit, and the will to continue despite fear. The students followed Eli, stepping carefully through the mess. Every movement demanded attention. A misstep could break a leg or cause them to fall into deep water. They had learned this in the forest, but the city presented new dangers. Cars overturned by the flood, live wires sparking in pools, and unpredictable humans rushing past. A man lifted a heavy metal beam blocking a collapsed doorway. Luma watched as he carried it alone. It was heavier than her entire body. The man moved steadily, without strain. Nearby, a woman pushed against a fallen tree to rescue someone trapped beneath it. Her clothes were wet, her arms scratched and bleeding, yet she did not hesitate. Vec finally spoke, his voice low. Humans are not primitive, they are evolved for survival. Rel looked around, his scanner trying to keep up with the chaos. Everywhere we go, there is risk. Yet people act calmly. They assess and respond. They do not panic, even when the situation is deadly. As the students moved closer to the city center, a loud crash echoed in the distance. A section of a damaged dam was cracking under pressure. Water poured over the edges, threatening the lower neighborhoods. Eli did not hesitate. He ran toward it with a group of humans, shouting instructions. Others followed, carrying sandbags, tools, and emergency equipment. The students watched in awe. Luma could not move at first, her body frozen by shock. Tara wanted to run, but found himself rooted to the spot. Even Rel's logical mind struggled to comprehend the coordination and courage on display. Myra spoke softly. This is why Earth earned its name. Not because everything dies, but because living here demands bravery and strength every day. Humans are shaped by the planet itself. Vec finally nodded. And they choose to help each other, even when their own lives are at risk. That is something my home world cannot understand. The student stepped forward cautiously, wanting to assist. Luma carried supplies to help reinforce a weak wall. Taro helped guide a small group of children to safety. Rel used his scanner to identify weak points in structures. Vec worked silently, moving heavy objects that required precise handling. Hours passed. The students' bodies ached from the effort. Their muscles, unaccustomed to heavy work, trembled. Yet they kept going, inspired by the humans around them. They saw ordinary people lifting enormous weights, diving into dangerous water, and staying in storms without complaint. Each act was a lesson in endurance and courage. Eli returned briefly, checking on the students. "You are doing well," he said. "But remember, survival here is constant. Danger does not wait. Pay attention. Learn. Adapt." Suddenly, the sound of cracking stone and rushing water grew louder. The dam was failing faster than expected. Eli and several humans ran toward the danger, carrying equipment and sandbags. The water surged threateningly toward the lower city. Luma's hands shook. "We have to help," she said. Rel nodded. "We cannot just watch. We have tools, we have knowledge." The students rushed forward, each of them playing a small but important role. They reinforced sandbag walls, lifted debris, and used their scanners to detect weak points. Their alien strength, combined with human ingenuity, made a real difference. Hours passed in a blur of noise, mud, and water. The dam groaned under pressure, but humans and students worked tirelessly. Finally, the rushing water began to slow. The structure held. The immediate danger passed. The students collapsed, soaked, exhausted, and dirty. Their clothes clung to their bodies, mud covered their skin, and fatigue weighed heavily on them. Yet there was a sense of accomplishment, of awe, and of deep respect. Taro looked around and whispered, They did it. They survived. And we helped somehow." Luma nodded, tears mixing with rain on her face. This is what it means to live on Earth. Danger is everywhere, but so is courage. Vec remained silent, watching humans move calmly despite exhaustion. He understood finally that survival here was not about avoiding risk. It was about embracing it, confronting it, and working together to overcome it. Myra placed a hand on Luma's shoulder. You are learning. Humanity is shaped by hardship. They are strong not because nature is easy, but because it is relentless. And yet, they persevere. The students followed Eli as he guided them to a safer area of the city. Around them, life continued. People rebuilt, rescued, and assisted without complaint. Fires were controlled, children guided, and structures reinforced. The students understood that humans did not act because they were fearless. They acted because they were trained, tested, and forced to survive from birth. Earth had made them this way, and they had adapted perfectly. As night fell, the city's lights flickered against the dark sky. Smoke and steam rose from streets and broken infrastructure. Yet the humans moved steadily, calmly, and purposefully. Every small action, every decision, was a testament to resilience. Luma, Taro, Rel, and Vec looked at each other. They had witnessed true courage, the kind that came not from simulations or books, but from a world that demanded it every day. They had begun to understand why Earth earned its fearsome name. Death was never far, but life persisted, and humans did not just survive, they thrived even in the face of relentless challenge. Eli turned to them and said, "This is only one of many lessons. Observe, learn, respect. The planet teaches through danger. You will understand more as you continue." The students nodded, hearts heavy but enlightened. The city lay before them, dangerous yet alive. Every street, every building, every rushing river and crackling fire was part of a constant test. They had learned a truth that would stay with them forever. Earth was not just a planet. It was a teacher, and its lessons were harsh, unforgiving, and brilliant. As they moved forward into the heart of the city, the students realized that their journey had transformed them. Fear had given way to respect. Shock had given way to understanding, and they were only beginning to grasp what it truly meant to live on a death world. The storm clouds began to break, revealing glimpses of stars above the city. Yet the rain still fell in heavy sheets, and the air remained thick with danger. The alien students pressed onward, determined to continue their observation, to witness humanity at its most resilient, and to carry the lessons of this city and this planet with them forever. Earth had tested them. Earth had shown them peril, and Earth had begun teaching them why humans could endure anything. The alien students stood at the edge of the city, watching the water rise behind the cracked dam. The river's current was strong, carrying debris and uprooted trees toward the lower neighborhoods. Eli ran toward the danger without hesitation, carrying equipment and shouting instructions. Other humans followed, working quickly, moving with skill and determination that seemed impossible to the students. Luma clutched her scanner, her body heavy from exhaustion and gravity, but she felt the pull to help. "We cannot just watch," she said to Rel. "We have to try." Rel nodded, setting his data pad to analyze the water pressure and structural weaknesses in the dam. "We can assist. Small adjustments may prevent total collapse," he said, voice steady despite fatigue. Taro and Vec joined in. Taro carried sandbags, struggling with their weight in Earth's gravity, and Vec moved debris to clear a path for others. Every movement demanded focus, or else disaster would strike. Myra followed closely, guiding them in small tasks and teaching them how humans approach danger: assess, act, adapt. The dam groaned under pressure. Water poured over its edges, and the students could see the panic in some of the human workers, but it was quickly replaced with purpose. One man directed teams, while others moved swiftly to reinforce weak sections. Luma marveled at how humans could coordinate in chaos without hesitation. On their home planet, such situations would have required complex planning and simulations. Here, humans instinctively acted with precision. A massive log floated downstream and collided with a critical section of the dam. Eli dove into the water, lifting it just enough to prevent it from causing a break. Luma froze, horrified. The water hit her legs as she leaned forward to assist. She struggled, but Rel grabbed her arm and steadied her. Together, they used tools to strengthen the area while humans coordinated nearby, shouting and moving with controlled urgency. Hours passed. The students were soaked, exhausted, and their muscles ached from the constant struggle against Earth's gravity and the heavy labor. Yet they did not stop. Each successful effort brought a small measure of relief. They began to understand that humans were not fearless. They simply acted because they had to. Danger was normal, and courage was learned through experience. The students noticed other humans diving into the rushing water to rescue debris that could damage the dam. One woman lifted a heavy beam, struggling against the current, her clothing torn and soaked, yet she continued without pause. Vec's eyes widened as he observed her. "They are not afraid," he whispered. "Not because they feel safe, but because they are trained to survive." Taro stumbled as he lifted another sandbag, his limbs trembling. Luma grabbed his shoulder. "Keep going. Look at them. They never quit," she urged, motioning toward the humans who worked tirelessly despite the flood and the storm. The dam creaked loudly. Small cracks appeared in the surface. The water pressure increased, threatening to break through entirely. Eli shouted for more sandbags and tools. Humans ran, working together seamlessly. Their instincts, honed by constant exposure to danger, allowed them to calculate risks and respond instantly. The aliens felt helpless at times, but each contribution they made, however small, made a difference. Finally, after what felt like endless hours, the pressure on the dam began to lessen. The structure held. The floodwaters slowed, and the immediate threat to the lower neighborhoods was mitigated. The students collapsed on the wet ground, drenched and exhausted. Mud covered their clothes, and every muscle ached painfully. But there was a sense of triumph and awe. They looked at the humans around them, who were equally exhausted but still working to secure the area, guide citizens to safety, and check for further dangers. No one celebrated. They simply continued, calm and focused, because survival here demanded constant attention. Luma realized that humans measured heroism differently than her people did. Success was quiet. Strength was normal. Fear was acknowledged, but it never stopped action. Taro shook his head slowly. I can't believe it. They just keep going, even when it seems impossible." Myra placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is why Earth is called a Deathworld. Not because everything dies, but because life here requires courage, endurance, and constant vigilance. Humans are forged by danger, and they thrive because of it." Vec, silent until now, finally nodded. "I understand. They are not primitive. They are born from hardship. And that is why they survive when others would fail." The students helped Eli, and the humans cleared debris and reinforced weak structures until the city was secure. By morning, the floodwaters had retreated, and streets were filled with the sounds of humans assisting one another in cleanup and recovery. Children were guided safely to schools, families reunited, and the city slowly returned to order. The alien students observed everything with awe. They had seen fear, courage, exhaustion, and resilience intertwined. Humans were not superpowered, nor were they invincible, yet they faced threats daily that could have killed any alien not prepared for Earth's conditions. And they did not complain. They acted. They adapted. They survived. Luma looked at the city in the morning light. Smoke had cleared from chimneys, water reflected the rising sun, and people moved with purpose. She understood now that the term Deathworld was not exaggeration. It was truth. This planet demanded strength of body, mind, and spirit, and humans had grown to meet that demand. Rel activated his data pad and sent the official report to the Galactic Academy. His words were simple but accurate. Earth is not merely dangerous because life ends here. It is dangerous because life is forged here. Only the strong survive, and humans are the strongest hearts the students had ever seen. Taro and Vex stood silently beside him, taking in the city and the calm determination of its citizens. Even after witnessing storms, rivers, predators, and floods, they now looked at humans with respect instead of fear. Myra guided the students to the shuttle, ready to return to their home planet. She looked back at the city one last time. Remember this. Observe humans, but also understand why they live here. Danger creates strength. Fear creates resilience. That is the lesson of Earth. The students boarded the shuttle, exhausted but enlightened. As the engines lifted them off the ground and into orbit, they looked down at the planet they had feared. Forests, rivers, cities, and storms stretched across the surface. The sun reflected off the oceans, and clouds shifted in endless motion. From orbit, Earth looked beautiful and deadly all at once. The students understood the truth fully. Earth earned its name Deathworld not because everything dies, but because only the strongest hearts can survive here. Humans were born of it, and they had mastered it. Luma, Rel, Taro, and Vex sat quietly as the shuttle moved away. Their mission of observation had become a mission of understanding. Fear had taught them respect. Exhaustion had taught them admiration. And witnessing humanity's courage had taught them humility. The city below began to shrink as the shuttle climbed higher. Rivers, forests, and mountains faded into a patchwork of color. The students had seen humans in their most natural and dangerous environment. They had seen life and survival intertwined, and they knew they would never underestimate humanity again. Eli waved from the city's edge as the shuttle left the atmosphere. The students waved back, hearts full of gratitude and newfound understanding. They had learned lessons that no book, simulation, or story could teach. Earth is relentless, perilous, and unforgiving. Humans live, adapt, and thrive within it. As the shuttle moved into the quiet of space, the students looked back one last time. Lightning flashed over the distant forest, waves moved violently across oceans, and clouds swirled endlessly. This was a death world, and humans had claimed it. The alien students understood fully now. Survival was not just about living. It was about learning to move through fear, danger, and adversity every single day. That was why humans endured. That was why they had earned their place in the galaxy. That was why Earth was called Deathworld. And for the first time, the students felt something they had never felt before: awe, respect, and certainty that no alien could face a challenge like Earth without learning from its people. Their journey had ended, but the lesson would stay with them forever. The strongest hearts survived. Humans had the strongest hearts, and Earth had taught them all why.